The greatest things that we produce that are sustainable, they come from the flow state. And so you can't create something magnificent from a place of anxiety or harriedness or pushing. It's like run yourself like a fine-tuned machine, but love and care for yourself and for your body so that the creativity can come through, so that the idea, so that the as the crow flies solutions can come in.
Christa Orecchio, one of my favorite people in the world. She is just brilliant. I can't even explain the impact she's had on my life and my family's life. And she's just incredibly smart and an incredible entrepreneur also. Christa is a clinical and holistic nutritionist. She's a CEO, a best-selling author, a TV show host, and she's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. She and her programs really encompass the body, the mind, and the spirit using food as medicine. Again, life-changing stuff. She's talking today about how to prevent burnout, a few easy things you can do to offset your body's stress response. So important. This stuff doesn't have to be super hard. What burnout does to your body and why you do want to try to prevent it. And towards the end, she talks about her experience of selling 30% of her company to a private equity firm. So you're going to want to listen all the way through. So much good stuff. Let's dive in. Okay, Christa Orecchio, so good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good, Jayla. Happy to be here. How are you?
Yay, good. This is so fun. What a little journey we've been on for however many years here. We met on an entrepreneurship panel, and I was trying to remember what that was. Do you remember?
It was Priscilla hosted it. It was Women in Wellness entrepreneurship panel. And I think it was, I don't know, like 15 years ago.
Wow, good memory. I was racking my brain. I couldn't remember what the name of it was. That was so fun. Yeah. And we just kind of started chatting and became friends. I've just been in awe of everything you do and have done. And you've saved James about 8 years ago when he had a pretty bad health scare. So we are eternally grateful to you for that.
Oh my gosh. The pleasure is all mine, right? You see people suffering unnecessarily. And yeah, the track he would have went down would have been scary.
Yeah, definitely. Well, today, I think we're going to focus on burnout. There's obviously so much we could talk about, but I think this is something I've talked to you a lot about over the years because I've been there. And you've helped me significantly to kind of overcome that. And I think it's such an important topic. You know, I've been doing more research on it just in anticipation of this podcast on how many entrepreneurs get burnt out, what causes burnout. So I'd love to just hear from you, like to kick it off, like what do you see as the most common, reasons or trends for entrepreneurs getting burnt out, or just what's your perspective on, that?
Well, there's no consistent structure per se, and there's no valve for entrepreneurs to say, okay, turn it up or turn it down. And so sometimes your business growing so fast, right? That's what happened to me without really having the support structure in place. It makes you run much harder and faster than you would ever choose to run. But who else is going to do it? A lot of people starting, you're the CEO and the janitor, right? Maybe you have one or two people and then something starts growing and you just have to show up, right? And then all you remember back in my early days, any of my exercise that was on my calendar or anything that would have brought balance to me, I kept, my assistant was like, wow, you're just deleting all these things. There was just no time for them, right? Because I had to meet that demand. And so when you're in that situation, then you need hacks, right? Because your stress hormone starts rising. So now you're living on stress hormones, you're locking out insulin, and you're starting to damage your thyroid, and you're living on stress hormones. So you're not very hungry. And now that we start to it's a slippery slope where we lean on caffeine. I'm not that hungry. And then we try to wind down with alcohol, right? It can be kind of this entrepreneur thing that we do, or just throwing ourselves under the bus, or not just eating whenever we can or not eating all day. I see a lot of my entrepreneur clients or investment bankers or whatever they may be when it's very demanding, and then they just eat huge meals at night, and then they're not sleeping, and you start to get into this whirlpool of a hormone pattern that it goes faster and faster in the wrong direction, and then you're in phase 1 adrenal dysfunction, then phase 2, and then most people will give it attention when they start to flatline in phase 3, or the depression kicks in, the motivation's not there, you're too tired to even be overwhelmed by your tasks, right? And then you kind of feel like a shell of who you used to be. And that's not why we're entrepreneurs. Like, I don't have to even use that word so much anymore. It's like we are creators of our own reality. We're creating the world we want to see. We all have these God-given gifts. We want to put them out into the world and express them. And how can we do that in a way where it's not like so much time pressure and it's not pushing us past our limits? So everybody, I think, should really, and I know you've done the Adrenal Recode, my adrenal healing program. And I also often say, how does it feel when you don't have what you need for yourself, right? Because a lot of us will skip a meal and then the body learns, okay, skipped a meal, so we'll secrete stress hormone. Or what happens is you have stored energy in your muscles, you've stored energy in your liver. So healthy people do. But what happens is we'll burn that out. We skip a meal, the body will release glycogen from the liver or the muscles. It's fine. You don't go down. But when you burn through all your reserves, then it has to go to stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol is corrosive. It's going to make you age faster. It's going to give you leaky gut. It's going to leach your minerals. It's going to leach your B vitamins. Your memory is going to start to go down, right? Like, we can only live in a state of chronic stress for so long before that stress converts into trauma. The experience of physiological and mental emotional trauma, which is what we want to avoid at all costs, right? There's no shortage of traumatized people, and I've been there, several times, and I know you have too. And it's a jungle out there. We can't control like what's happening in our business lives sometimes, or the choices that we make, or right, because we're learning lessons, but you can control what you put in your body. You can control creating what I call parasympathetic moments, like taking that time out, sticking your feet in the grass for 10 minutes, doing some deep breathing, or if you're like about to tip, you go to a transformational breathing workshop. And I call those like not just a breathing workshop, a transformational breathing workshop, or find someone to where you can like do a trauma dump, let it out of your nervous system, and then re-regulate. There's a lot of different modalities now, like the TRE, trauma release exercise. I don't know if you've heard of that. And that's rooted in like when an animal goes through something highly stressful, right? They shake it off. They do this like shaking process, and then their nervous system can regulate. But most of us humans don't do that, right? We like eat sugar or alcohol or caffeine or whatever it is, we do that. So we keep it stored. So then it starts compounding. So just a gentle form of TRE, you can look it up online or find a practitioner where you're releasing the stress of the day or the past or whatever that is. Because I have come after now nearly 20 years as an entrepreneur to see that the greatest things that we produce that are sustainable, they come from the flow state. And so you can't create something magnificent from a place of anxiety or harriedness or pushing. It's like run yourself like a fine-tuned machine, but love and care for yourself and for your body so that the creativity can come through, so that the ideas, so that the as the crow flies solutions can come in. Like when we're keyed up within that, like approaching burnout, like the easiest solutions don't come, and we make it harder and we spend more money, right? Doing it. We just keep hiring out, thinking if we throw money at it, like someone else is going to fix it. Like I've done that. Like I'm exhausted. Instead of, no, I am the leader of this organization. I'm going to get myself to a place of grounding, and then I'm going to make those decisions from that place. And I can't recommend that highly enough. I've gotten some really bad, sticky situations from not making decisions from that place.
Yeah, me too. I am with you there. I think, I think that's the question is what are those signs? Because It's so, like you said, you get busy. It's typically not until it's too late, right? That you feel forced to do these things. At least for me, it's like you think you're fine, you're charging. And to some degree too, it's fun. There's adrenaline and it's exciting.
Yeah.
There's an element of that. So you don't, for me at least, it took a long time to recognize that I was burnt out. And I didn't even know what that was. So what would you say? What are like the early signs that people should look for to go, hey, I should, really do something now before I reach that, point of challenging return?
Challenging return. I like that. I like that phrase. Waking up between 1 and 4 a.m. with your heart pounding or your mind racing, that is a big sign you're in phase 1 because you're not able to regulate that bell curve and you're getting a cortisol spike at night. And if you had healthy blood sugar, then you would be able to keep that cortisol low so that it pops up first thing in the morning. So if you're in that stage or phase, I'd recommend having a snack before bed. I'm sure in the Adrenal Recode, we do an organic banana rolled in pink salt with 10 raw cashews, right? You could even have 100 milligrams of a phosphatidylserine, a sunflower based, which is a lipid compound that's going to bind to high cortisol and pull it down. Try to keep you sleeping all night. Other symptoms
that works.
Works,
I gotta
right?
say.
Yes. And it's also because as you start depleting and not sleeping, and melatonin converts into serotonin. Now you're serotonin deficient, and the banana has vitamin B6, which will help convert into progesterone, but also tryptophan that will convert into serotonin. So food is medicine has been my jam, right? And
yes, it's amazing.
Going from sitting to standing or laying to standing and seeing stars, getting dizzy, that's a sign that you are leaching your minerals. You're mineral deficient, not being hungry in the morning. Most people think, and a lot of us, like you said, we're addicted, and I'm no exception. Now I'm an exception. I know what that feels like, but we're addicted to that feeling good. We want to feel up, even if it's a little anxious. Wouldn't you rather feel up than down or depressed, right? So we don't know we're living on stress hormones, right? Oh, now I'm going to intermittent fast. Most of the time you'll throw yourself into further balance. I'm not hungry in the morning, so I'm going to intermittent fast and just have black coffee. It's like a hormonal nightmare to do to yourself, right? And that is so popular. In the health space. But so getting something in your body with protein, healthy carb, and fat within an hour of waking so that you have something to work off of for the day is going to be important. Some people, when their nervous system goes, unsettled, they'll just start getting some GI issues, like a nervous belly. Go to the bathroom a lot, it's a sign it's too much cortisol, right? If you start going to the bathroom more than you usually do. Dark circles under the eyes is now you're developing some food sensitivities and a negative liver response to food. If you feel like your skin is constantly dry, that's another sign of moving into a bit of a burnout. And then just exhaustion, brain fog, right?
Oh my gosh.
Good. And I say a lot of people are in these phases. Of course, anxiety. And it's that tired but wired feeling. And most people aren't, when you try to calm down at night. I was in it a little bit yesterday. I thought I was fine. And then I went to yoga where I dropped in and I was like, oh, there's some buzzing in there. I need to do something about that, right? And so make sure you're getting the right amount of nutrition to support yourself so that you can put whatever it is out into the world that you want to put out.
Yeah, it's funny. I used to think I'm eating healthy, which, meant to me just really no processed foods. I never really thought about combining foods and the importance there. I didn't know about that. But to me, I thought, well, I'm eating healthy, I'm exercising, I must be healthy. But stress, that stress was there and that underlying stress. And then I just slowly started to realize I could eat as healthy as I want and exercise all I want, but if I don't address this underlying stress, it's toxic, and that's what leads to disease and all this stuff, right? And so I think just naturally our crazy multitasking lives these days, and especially as parents, for anybody who's parents, it's like it never ends, right? And even though I think you and I have both made a very conscious decision to build a business that revolves around our life versus a life that revolves around our business, right? And that was a huge, huge, yes, yeah. After both of us learning the hard way for sure. But even then, like, I mean, even still, I feel like I really with, and I only have one kid. I can't even imagine having three, right? But so I don't know. What do you think? Like, if somebody is just in that super busy, they are starting a business or they're running a business and they have kids, or even if they don't have kids, everybody has their stuff. What would you say are just the top three things you can do? Is it, because I used to feel also like it was all or nothing. And then as I was doing the adrenal recode, and you told me like doing 20% of this will have just massive shifts. So what would be that 20% that somebody could incorporate to just really start supporting their body or their system, right away?
You can take our pillars. So first pillar is food frequency. So when you're under stress, you need to eat more often, every 4 hours, to lock out that cortisol response. Otherwise, your cells will be bathed in cortisol. Your nutrition won't get in. So definitely try to eat frequent meals, 6 a day: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack before bed. Even if it's something like we have an adrenal recode golden milk that you can drink an hour before bed, like there's going to be something huge, or an adrenal creamsicle as a snack, just so that you're supporting your body and refilling those glycogen stores. That is going to be really important. And when you eat, make sure you eat good quality. Quality is everything: protein, carb, and fat together. So like an example could be a half of a sweet potato with 4 ounces of whitefish. Metabolic proteins are really helpful when you're going through a burnout stage. And so muscle meat, which is what we all eat, chicken and beef and all that, it's fine. But if you're going to have that, have it with some collagen or a few ounces of bone broth, so that it doesn't drive up the inflammatory process while you're approaching a state of burnout. Otherwise, the metabolic proteins to focus on are going to be whitefish, shellfish, and eggs. Liver, if you can stand it, or supplement with a good quality grass-fed liver. Because when I say metabolic, we want what is easy for your body to convert food into fuel. B vitamins are going to be really important, considering B5, that's pantothenic acid. That's the one that converts your food into fuel. So you may need some added support with that during burnout. And then stay away from seed oils and nuts and seeds, because they can drive up the inflammatory process, where we want to lock in healing in the nervous system with your monounsaturated and saturated fats. So you'll stick with butter, ghee, avocado oil, coconut oil, and just a little bit with each meal. We tend to overdo it on fat, and then we can clog up the liver. So you're actually going to focus on fruit and root sugar. Okay, so when you have your carbs, when you're going to have it, you're going to have a fruit with it, with your protein and with your fat, or you'll have like a root vegetable. So you can do anything from sweet potato to parsnips to carrots to butternut squash, to ground and anchor and give you that slow release of glucose. This is all about burning glucose slowly. The fat will help with that. And then, of course, the protein will provide satiety and help with your muscles and all those things. So if you kind of focus on those tenets, and even if you can get 5 minutes of breath work in a day, it will be transformative, because you're never just affecting the adrenal glands. You're always also affecting the thyroid, because they're a team. And so how we rejuvenate cellular energy is we recharge the cells. And the way you recharge the cells is you make sure the cells are getting oxygen T3, which is the active thyroid hormone, and glucose. And so that's why it's important that you're doing the fruit and root sugar and that you're breathing. And then if you're having protein, carb, and fat, you're doing that 6 times a day. Now you're going to start to stabilize, and you can check your temperature. If you're eating and you are eating thermogenically, which means that meal is contributing to your metabolism, then it's locking out burnout and helping you recover, because burnout is a metabolic issue. Then if your temperature is going up half a point, right, after you eat that meal, it was thermogenic. And in our adrenal recode program, as you know, we get very technical with this because we want everyone to figure out their specific protein, carb, and fat with temperature and pulse, so that you're forcing your body into parasympathetic dominance, which is rest, digest, and heal, and creating stability and safety and consistency within that. Because then meal to meal, day to day, week to week, now you're healing fast, as I think you probably have gone through.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think that's one of the things too, the misconceptions is that doing a lot of this stuff, there's so much good food you can eat, right? It's not like you're eating. That's one of the things I always find. It's like it does require.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's like there's meat, there's like, potatoes and good stuff balanced out. And the other thing I love about you is that you're all about the 80-20, right? It's not realistic to eat like that 100% of the time. Like, we've gone out to dinner many times and ordered French fries, right? It's like, that when it's just the 20% you have to live, but 80% of the time, if you can support your system, it's going to make a big difference, right?
Yeah, and you just notice, because I do the same thing, right? It's nice if you can find where they do the French fries and good oil, but you just, that's our spirit. We have to feed it or go with convenience and not add more stress, like trying to be perfect, because there is no such thing. And a lot of us type A's get into these situations because of that, like type A. But then you notice, okay, how am I feeling? How is this working for me? Like, even still, I was just in New Jersey visiting my family, and I ate pizza for dinner. And you know what? I woke up at night because that was not what my body needed for itself. It wasn't grounding. It didn't put me in parasympathetic dominance, right? So it's like, yeah. And I think the more we tune in to our bodies, like, tune in. How is this meal going to feel in my body after I eat it, before you make your choices? And sometimes you just need French fries, to like ground you. And but my clients, when they're in adrenal fatigue, I remember when my publicist years ago, she was in a really bad way and her company was, having major issues. And she's like, and I'm trying to be healthy and I'm eating smoothies and salads. And I felt like she was like a helium balloon. And I was like, go to Burger Lounge and go get a burger, gluten-free bun, and fries right now. And you know what I mean? And she calls me, she's like, I feel calm for the first time. Right. So in a long time. And it's like, we understand food has energetic properties. And when you're in adrenal burnout, like, definitely more cooked foods, not the raw.
Yeah.
This would work for you.
Yeah, I definitely learned that. That's something, again, I wasn't realized. And I do a lot more now. I'm like, oh, I love cooked veggies, cooked greens.
Yes.
And there's so many ways to do that. And I do realize now that has a lot of benefits. So tell everyone a little bit about, because I do think this stuff is very hard to figure out on your own. I've done, I think, your Gut Thrive program maybe 3 times, which is kind of crazy. And your Adrenal Recode program. And I've adopted a lot of those things as just kind of ongoing. Like, I do my, lemon ginger stuff in the morning before coffee. My coffee, James laughs at me because I put like collagen and mushroom powder and coconut sugar and cream. Like, my coffee's like, halfway
coffee,
filled with stuff. Yeah. But tell everyone a little bit about your programs, just kind of because they're incredible. They're so supportive. You've helped so many people over the years. So just share a little bit about, what those look like.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, I kind of coined the term tag disorder, thyroid adrenal gut disorder, because, and it's like a pyramid, and then there's mental, emotional stressors on the outside of that. And I think that after working with like 20,000 plus people, everybody has some variety of tag disorder. It's not like, do you have it? It's like, okay, how much? Like, this is just modern life and our food supply and stress and the chemicals we're breathing, just you name it, right? We're up against a lot in this modern age. And so, so I had people, they can go to tagdisorder.com. I don't know if you did this, and take a quiz. And then you come out, are you a type T? Are you a type A? Or are you a type G? So you understand where to start, because I'm a root cause focused clinician. And I want you to start in the right place and go down the right order, so you have a roadmap towards optimal health that's customized. But a lot of the chronic gut issues are with Gut Thrive and 5, and that is a gentle microbiome rejuvenation program, which, like you said, you've done 3 times, where we take you through 5 steps of gut healing. Because a lot of clinicians, they're doing well, but they're not doing it in the right order, and it's not gentle enough. And especially as you get into, as I'm realizing, Jayla, my own health, as you get into your mid-40s and you're moving towards perimenopause and menopause, like, you can't handle the intense cleansing anymore. So much of it, especially if you're a business owner, the adrenal recode is right for you, because if you start doing that heavy cleansing, like I would never have you do Gut Thrive 3 times in a row. Now you start leaching minerals from the bones, right? Like when you worry about osteoporosis and osteopenia. And so all of it is about taking care of the nervous system and that tender hormone balance, and then, working in some tenets of gut health to gently shift it. So, I have 10 online programs, and they're all at christashealthclub.com. And so much of this stuff is emotional too, right? So I have an emotional mastery course. And I think, if we're repeating childhood patterns or behavioral patterns, like, we're going to great. You eat well, you do the adrenal recode, you're going to drive yourself back in there with limiting beliefs, or not being able to ask for help, or being a people pleaser, right? This is like, everybody else's agenda is in your inbox, and so you're following, right, these types of things. And so it's a mind, body, spirit approach towards like self-actualization, really is what it's about.
Yeah, I think that's what's so crazy, is we are so complex, right? And you really can't just address one piece of it. It really all works together. And like you were saying, that stress, if you have emotional stress for whatever reason, and like you said, I think most people probably have some element of it. And as we go through life, new things come up.
If you're human in this world today, it exists. And we have beliefs. Limiting beliefs and preconditions. We're conditioned from our families, from our churches, from our schools, from our televisions, from whatever. And it's like, okay, how can we just strip all these limiting beliefs and get to the foundation of who we are? Because that person shines and is at peace and is a powerful creator.
Yeah. And I love that you incorporate that. And I think too, something I love or have a huge appreciation for Western medicine, and, you could say regular medical system has its benefits. I've had many knee surgeries. I'm very thankful for those surgeons and those doctors, right? But what blew my mind is when James had issues years ago, and we went to the doctor, and I learned that like they had never taken a nutrition course. And I was just like, oh my God, that's crazy. Now, I'm not saying all doctors are like that. I think there is more and more incorporating, nutrition, mind, body, technology, everything. But it's really, I believe we have to be our own advocate to look out for all, our whole being, our whole selves as a being. And it really takes some effort, because there's not just a like, go to your doctor and check a box. I feel like it has to become kind of a lifelong pursuit of, really just learning your body, learning, your mind, your mental state, where you're at. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? 'Cause that's the realization I've had. And I have an appreciation for kind of all sides. But I really feel like at this point, especially like you said, going into, perimenopause and that kind of thing is like a whole nother thing where it's like, oh my gosh, you really have to be your own, I don't know if advocate's the right word, but you know what I mean? You have to pursue it on your own and really make an effort.
Yeah, yes, it should be taught to us. Personal health, bio-individuality, like what are the things we're really going to be using, right? It's not like history. And so yes, this should be taught. And we need mainstream medicine because it can affect biology in a matter of seconds and keep you alive, or like antibiotics where you would otherwise die. And like you said, knee surgeries, that to me is really the extent of it, right? Because we have to get out of this dietification of the doctor, tell me to take this medicine, and you have this diagnosis and you carry forward with that, right? Because that is not going to do anything for anyone. It's like, yes, we need to understand our own bio-individuality. And our bio-individuality is so many different things. It's our genetics. It's the health of the nervous system from our ancestors. It's where we were raised, how we were raised, how did we eat as a child, what kinds of medications were we on growing up, were we breastfed as a baby, right? What kinds of stressors have you experienced? Where are you originally from? There's just like, what are you doing now? And it shifts. Like, do you like your job now? Or what kind of space do you have in your day? Do you have little kids? Do you have older kids? Different stressors. And so understanding we spend so much time trying to understand our computers or figure out marketing or whatever it is. It's like this is it. This is the divine vessel. And if we can figure this out, we can create anything else. Like everything else is figure outable, right? And listen to it because it'll give you the answers.
Aside from all your incredible years of experience doing that, as you've touched on, you have years of experience growing, running your own business, shifting, pivoting. You've got a lot of experience. And I've always, so appreciated your perspective. You've done some incredible, you've made some incredible moves business-wise, I think, especially for, your industry, and you've been able to help more people because of that. And so what advice do you have, knowing all the experience you've had, like what just kind of advice do you have for people going out who are maybe looking for a strategic partner or looking to grow or, based on kind of what you've done? I don't know. What would you like to share there?
One thing that was really valuable for me was being part of a CEO circle. So I think everybody should be part of a mastermind that you're not paying to be in, kind of like, we had our informal mastermind, but people more in your industry. And that was helpful for me because when you're going out there and you're looking for money, and I just had this conversation with a colleague yesterday, it's like, I'm personally not a huge fan of PE because it's like, as a founder, like unless you know that they are truly invested in the product and in the mission,
real quick, private equity, right, is what you're referring to.
I'm referring to private equity. I didn't have the greatest experience with private equity. And so it's like, you've got to kind of like, what is it that you want? So I did end up selling 30% of my company to a PE firm. Back in 2022 after a 6-month courting period, and really like, okay, do you understand where we're going? Do you really understand why we want to help people? And like when push comes to shove, if they're also working with other companies, I didn't have a great experience that they don't want to incorporate into your systems, right? They want to do things faster. They want to push with the hiring. They want to push the scaling, and like maybe not understanding really where the company is and taking the founder into consideration. So I would never, have I had to do it over again from my thing, I don't think that I would have done that. I think I would ask yourself, okay, what are the lifestyle goals that you want, right? Because it's not always bigger is better. And the reason this conversation that came up yesterday with a colleague, and he's writing a book about scaling upside down. And so we think it's always about scaling and scaling, but so much of it is, okay, what what is the profit that you keep? What is the simplicity? Why are you doing this? So I pass everything through. How much stress will this cause? Is it dedicated to the mission? And like, really, what is it going to bring in? Like, because it has to be worth your life force to do it and be part of your legacy, right? And so, yeah, that was my experience as a founder, but it's different based upon your product, right? Because if I was the face of the company,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think you got to go with it, and you find really competent people, and everything changed for me. So in 2014 is when I launched Gut Thrive, and I was like, okay, I'm going for this. I launched it, and I didn't know that it was going to be so well received, right? And so then we had thousands of people enroll, and we had to cut off enrollment. People were finding the checkout page on Google. We had like a 4,000 person wait list, but we had to cut it off because we didn't have enough supplements, and that was its own burnout because they're working through Christmas. You're on the phone with Bangladesh Customs on Christmas Eve, and you're trying to help these people who are really sick and they want help. And so I said, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do it. And so I advise doing as much as you can on your own. So I did it myself without investors, put myself in $1 million of personal debt, built it better, built the warehouse, did the right hires, built the clinical customer service strategy, and then relaunched it again. And then we were able to grow without giving myself an ulcer, right? So, finding the right people, knowing, I love the book, Rocket Fuel. Have you read that book?
And I did a long time ago. I need to read that again. That's a good one.
Well, it's just basically like, do we need this whole, is it antiquated, the structure of a company, or do you need the visionary and do you need the integrator? And then each of those has a support team. Like, if you really start to look at it that way, and you work smarter, not harder. And, I think that's so important. A lot of us, we just want to go. But there's like a lot of money and stress that I could have saved if I just kind of like pulled back.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think one of the things that I think now is, I basically look at everything. What's the path of least resistance, And because it's easy to just get kind of caught up in the shoulds, or you feel obligated, or, there's all kinds of reasons, right? But when I really peel it back and just go, given all situations, which is the path of least resistance to get to, what's the goal? And I don't know, sometimes it's like a major shift, but to me, that's helped me to stay grounded in that space of not, because it is exciting to just grow. And if you feel like you should grow, or I do, I still get caught in that. I think a lot of people, even in careers, right? People feel like they should be going after a promotion, or they feel like they should be switching jobs to make more money or whatever. The shoulds just like kill us, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And they do kill us because they steal our life force. It's not should, it's like, what do I want? And that's where, if you heal your nervous system and you're not in burnout, like, you can truly check in and you truly have access to your intuition, because we're creators. So how many things have you created that you're like, oh, wow, good, I did it and I don't want it anymore. Or this isn't what I wanted. And because growing can create freneticism, right? So yeah, just.
That's amazing.
Knowing who you are, knowing what you want, knowing, and I think simplifying. I really feel like the future is simplifying our lives and putting the big rocks in. Like, what are your big rocks? Is it exercise? What keeps you balanced? And those are unshiftable meetings. Make them unshiftable meetings, as much as you can. Like, I will often schedule my exercise right after I drop off my son, because I know if I'm going to do it later, then I just get caught up in the day, right? So it's like staging the day so that you own the day versus the day owning you. And I've let go of so many shoulds now with my new model, and that if I'm feeling good, I flow with it. I'm not putting out content every single week like a machine. I'm like, when I have something valuable to share, I will share it, right? And just really extricated myself from the hustle culture. And I think that people are appreciating authenticity now more than ever. because they're so overloaded, like with being tracked on Instagram and email and from Siri. You know, I was talking about a restaurant to my friend last night. Should we eat here? The next minute I get an email from that restaurant. Oh, we miss you. Like, it's so invasive, right? When you stack that up hundreds of times a day, it's like people they want simplicity, they want authenticity, and they want to know that if you're communicating with them, it's to provide value.
Yeah. It's funny. I just saw, I want to say it was Denmark or Germany. I can't remember. It was just last week. A whole group of people got together and they left all their phones and technology and they just went into this huge, it might have been like I don't know what, community center or something, but they just all read and were drawing. And it was like this afternoon of just people coming together. And I really was like, you know what? I hope more and more of that happens because I think we really need that. And it was kind of cool to see that happening, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I intentionally leave my phone in the car after I pick Austin up, my son up from school. And it's like our evening goes completely different versus that phantom limb syndrome of checking. And then he'll be like, Mommy, I want to watch something. It's like we don't realize how much it steals of us. And part of burnout is dissociation, right? And so you just need to mindlessly scroll like a social media because, like, right, that's dissociation. That's also a sign of impending burnout or being in burnout.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's really good to be aware of those things. I mean, technology, I think there's a huge trend right now of, you know, not drinking and all kinds of people saying they're not drinking, which I think is great because obviously our culture has
overdone
that on a pedestal. Yeah, overdone it. And I think probably the same thing hopefully will happen with technology to some extent. I mean, we need it and it's amazing and it makes our lives great, but it's like everything, you need to have a balance with it, which is hard. Easier said than done.
I was thinking about that. I'm going to work on it in my own life. Like, how do you break the codependence with it? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having those boundaries. It's like, and so I do think that planners can be helpful with like, okay, what's your computer time? I'm happiest when I'm offline. And my best, most authentic ideas and ways of communicating and relating to my audience and what I'm going to provide, they don't come when I'm staring at a computer screen. They come when I'm out in nature. They come when I'm in a yoga class. And then it's like, oh, okay. So, and then know your most creative part of the day. I think that's really important. So you don't abuse it by answering emails or getting dragged. So it's like, before you ever check anything, like, here's your creative time block. You know, put your phone on airplane mode, turn off all the bells and whistles of everything. You know, I log out of Slack. It's like, yeah, focused, because that flow state is priceless. And when you're in the flow state, do whatever you can to stay in it because you think you're going to get back to it. And it may be days or weeks before you get back to it. So cherish it when you're in it.
Very cool. Well, what else? Anything else you want to share? And then where can people find out more about you and follow you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, last tips is just like put yourself first. It's not part of our culture, but even if you just do one or two habits, you'll feel the difference and be more connected to yourself. And you can find any of my work or my programs at christashealthclub.com. You can take the tag disorder quiz at tagdisorder.com. Find me on Instagram. ChristaOrecchio.com is my website. There's about 400 shows on there. I've had several TV shows for a while. So if you have a health question, I almost can guarantee I answer it on the website there.
Yeah, you have so much great content, like your blog, all your videos. I mean, I still go there all the time if I have like something I'm, trying to figure out. And I think your health club is I love the new model. It's so great. I don't know, there's something that just feels so empowering to be able to just hop on and hear what other people are questions and be able to ask a question and stuff like that. So I think it's really great. I love what you're doing. And you got to share one last thing, what you're doing on because I just think this is so important, big picture. And I think this goes to show too, just what a visionary you are, and that the entrepreneurship vision never stops evolving. But tell everyone about like soil rejuvenation and kind of what your mission is there, because it's so important.
Yeah, I've always considered myself a mission-driven individual. And for 20 years, food as medicine was it. But I'm watching the food supply change and change and change, and it becoming harder and more expensive to eat healthy, and what we're doing with these monocrops. And so with the Health Club, the overarching mission of it is going to be to move into soil rejuvenation and regenerative agriculture. If we stopped spraying pesticides in the United States, we could rejuvenate the entirety of the American food supply in 3 years by building these super soil and companion planting, and stop this. There's no food in the actual grocery stores, right? And so everyone is. So it's a big mission, but I'm committed to doing wherever my part falls in this life as part of legacy for future generations, because we will run out of food in 60 years if we don't do this. So,
Wow, I did not know that. That's crazy. It's funny. So we're going to Italy in, I guess it's 2 weeks. And my sister, I was just buying stuff for the trip, and my sister's going to Spain, her family, and she was like, oh yeah, someone just told me that to buy my sunscreen when I get there, because they don't allow, any of the chemicals that we do here. And we were just talking about, I was like, what is wrong with this country? Why do we, why do we allow?
Yeah, well, because it's greed. It's greed is what it is. It's this corporate greed. And when you look at, well, you probably know Vonnie, the food babe, you'll see, okay, here's Kraft ingredients, macaroni and cheese in the US, 30, 40 ingredients, and in the UK, 4, right? And so you span that out into many different products of, we have this innocent until proven guilty with our health, with GMOs, with pesticides, and they're more mature in Europe. And it's like, no, guilty until proven innocent in terms of how it affects the human body. And you can actually eat when you go to Europe. I eat all the bread I want over there, and cheese, and everything's so fresh, and you feel good. And it's not the Franken food that we have allowed to infiltrate. And we should have never industrialized our food supply, which is another reason I feel I've been moved to Texas, because so many people coming into this communal homestead way of living, getting back to the land. It's really important for the future.
Yeah. Oh man, I can totally see that. I know. I want to come visit. I need to come down there. Pay a visit, Barrick and I.
Yeah.
We would love that. Oh, cool. Amazing. Well, so good to see you, Christa. Thank you for sharing all your incredible knowledge. I so appreciate you and everything you've done to help me, and just your friendship and everything. You're just amazing. So thank you for being on.
About you. And I'm so inspired and empowered by your journey. I hope you do a full podcast on your whole journey, because so much of this is courage and resilience and processing what didn't work and now making something work.
Yeah. It would be a long episode.
I'll interview you.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. We'll talk to you soon.